Hello,
I consent.
everyone, and welcome to a spicy little bonus episode on the
Spicy.
Nothing to See Here podcast feed. That other voice you're hearing, hi, it's Frankie from Nothing to See Here podcast. That other voice you're hearing, would you like to introduce yourself?
I would love to introduce myself. This is Levi. I'm the person talking right now.
Yes, so we
And I have this notebook here with me, which I'm gonna steal a new one from my workplace. But this is my Shadowrun notebook, which I commandeered some pages of for this purpose. So you should know how important it is to me.
wow,
It's my
I feel
DM
honored.
notebook.
I feel
You
honored.
should. It's in there with
Um,
all my detailed planning and horrible drawings.
my notes consist of a legal pad page that I did while I watched part of the episode at work, and then
Proud of you.
I switched over to typing my notes. So half of my notes are in the Notes app on my laptop.
That's probably easier to access considering I had a page and a half of notes, which is rather low for me actually. And so you're gonna have to listen to me turning physical pages. I'm a pen person.
I think
I'm sorry.
that adds some ambiance.
I am also for a fun fact. I am drinking a nice pink lemonade right now.
I'm drinking nothing, so I will be very sad at myself for doing that because
Jealous, jealous, you mean?
I usually have a drink to keep my throat from being dry, and it will not be. It will be dry. What are we doing here? Well, first of all, Levi has been mentioned on the podcast before, as you may know
Oh,
Levi, famous from the Otis the Frog sleepwalking story.
oh yes. Oh, if this has been told, I absolutely am aware of my good friend Otis,
Yes,
a
and
nurse, if I recall.
ER doctor.
ER. I was close. I was close.
Yes. And what are we doing here? Well, I after we started this Nothing to See Here podcast, I got an itch to talk about some wrestling.
As you often do.
As I often do. I'm a big wrestling fan. Depending on when this is uploaded, you may already know that because the other wrestling series I'm doing with Amanda and Hannah may also be uploaded.
I sh- I should be on that one also.
Well, I wanted one that's just special to us
Oh, I see.
because
I see. I see. Cutting me
you'll
out.
appreciate some of these wrestlers more.
I will. I have some things to say. I have some things
So,
to say.
what my original idea before what I'm doing with Amanda and Hannah involving WCW,
Yes.
the original idea was there's this era of Raw. There's this idea in wrestling of general managers in storyline running the show. In the current day of wrestling, we have Adam Pearce running Raw and Nick Aldis running SmackDown.
You know, I wasn't aware that I we when we watch wrestling together, we're usually watching something much older, usually mid 2000s or earlier.
Yeah.
So I have to say, not aware that Adam Pearce is running Raw right now, and that's quite funny to me.
Yes. And so, but there is an era of Raw where they didn't have a general manager. Instead, they had a new guest host of Raw every week that has all the powers of a general manager, but it changes every week.
And I must say, starting very strong,
Um,
very strong.
this is
I I'm playing this. I didn't tell you this, Frankie,
mhm.
but when you sent me the list of episodes we were going to watch for our first what do you want to say, like a first year or so.
Yeah,
Um you did not include who is general manager for each episode.
I think it's
So,
better to be a surprise.
I completely agree. I am not looking ahead, other than obviously in this episode they say who is going to be the next one. So, I'm aware of who the next one's going to be, but I am not looking ahead at all. I love that it's a surprise, and I did not know who the general manager was going to be for this one. So when he turned up, I was ecstatic.
Yes. We'll reveal the guest host when we start talking about
Yes.
the episode, but this is also seen as one of the worst eras of Raw and wrestling at in history of WWE. And the reason why I chose it is because when Levi and I watch wrestling together, we usually love the shit.
Yes. I love nonsense in wrestling. One of the things that I wanted to say to you, Frankie, was now that we're doing this, do I have to call myself a wrestling fan now? I'm doing a wrestling podcast.
I think
I think I
I don't
have to.
well to be fair, you don't you could hate wrestling and still do a wrestling
I
podcast.
could. I could.
There's a wrestling
I don't.
podcast that I listen to where one of the hosts actually hates wrestling and they watch it.
I definitely don't hate it. There are absolutely things that I appreciate, and as Frankie is well aware, and I think you will happily admit this is a good part of why you picked this era in particular. I love great technical wrestling because I love acrobatics. I think it's beautiful and lovely to watch the ways that people can manipulate their bodies. But I also love stupid bullshit, and there's a lot of dumb bullshit in wrestling.
And this era has so much dumb bullshit,
Yes,
which is
which
why I
I'm
picked it.
so excited. I'm
So
so excited for it.
before we get into the actual episode, we're only going to be reviewing the Raws. The SmackDowns have a normal general manager. They're just doing their shit. Some of it is really good. Some of it is really bad. The same as will be on Raw, but because they don't have the fun little guest GM, we're just gonna be watching the Raw episodes and the pay-per-views that they build to. Because we're getting the build, we might as well see what happens.
Yeah, sure. I'd feel a little cheated if we didn't, to be
Now,
honest with you.
there are two other shows happening at this same time, ECW and SmackDown. We're not going to be watching any of those episodes. We're not going to be reviewing those episodes. Obviously, when their matches crop up on the pay-per-view, we'll talk about them. We're not going to skip those matches because it's the whole card we're looking at. But we're not going to watch the individual episodes leading up to them. So the story will just be what we get from the video packages, which I think is also a good way to look at the wrestling product at the time. Can a fan just drop in on the big monthly events and have
Yeah.
the story told to them through the video package?
I think that's a really fair way to look at it because I imagine there are plenty of fans or people, just even just casual watchers that aren't going to be watching all that is available. So I think this is a great way to do it. Look at one season or one side of the show. Can I appreciate, me especially as someone who doesn't really seek this out on their own? I really only watch wrestling when it's with Frankie or when it happens across, my social media feed. Is this something that I can follow and enjoy without the rest of it? And I think that's a crucial part. It's similar to my what do you want to call it? My philosophy with films. If I can't get a full story in the bit that I'm watching, you aren't delivering the right product to me.
So we will begin our little. Oh, before we begin our little journey, just a little backstage information on how we're doing this. We are recording every third Thursday of the month.
Yes.
So we will record once a month, and I don't know what month this episode will first be uploaded. That just depends on how far I get in editing our actual weekly Nothing to See Here episodes, and how far I get into doing research for my episodes on that, and how far I get into I'm starting a new job next week as we record this because I'm insane. So I want to start as many new things as I can at the same time. Once I get into a process of editing these, the goal is to, once this first one's uploaded, once a month, this will show up, not on a particular day of the month, not on a particular day of the week, except it won't be on Wednesday. I wouldn't upload double episodes like that. But once a month, this will be uploaded so you can follow the journey along with us. We are watching these on Peacock, which now houses the WWE Network in America currently. That
Mhm.
might change because WWE just signed a massive deal with Netflix where
Yeah.
Netflix gets to air Raw.
Yeah, and that's what we're watching, so it might actually encourage me to get my own Netflix subscription for this, which wouldn't happen otherwise, but
Yeah.
I
So
might be convinced.
we're starting Monday Night Raw, baby. It is June 29th, 2009.
That date is important. That date is crucial, actually.
It is. This is the night after a pay-per-view called The Bash,
Yes.
which I did not realize when I picked it out.
Oh,
Because
really?
this is just the first Raw guest host episode. I didn't realize a pay-per-view was the night before until I started watching this. I knew about how we got here in terms of why there was a Raw guest host instead of a general manager.
Yeah, because that's really important right off the gate. I have in all caps in a note at the top of my sheet from a sign, one of the first things you see if you open this episode.
The way we got here is that there was a storyline where former president Donald Trump, I guess at this point in time, future president Donald Trump,
Oh, yeah, yeah. I
game
think it would be funny. It would be funny, and so I'm here for it. It's fine.
reality TV show host Donald Trump
Yes.
was the owner, quote unquote, of Monday Night Raw. Not the whole WWE, just Monday Night Raw. And the week before,
uh,
he aired what they called Trump Raw, and he aired it commercial free, completely commercial free for 2 hours, and revealed that there would be no more general manager, that there would be guest hosts hosting Raw, who we open with accused sex offender and sex trafficker Vince McMahon.
not an upgrade. About
No.
the same.
Yeah. We're in San Jose, California, by the way.
Oh, nice. Nice to know. Nice to know.
And before we get into deep into the episode, some background information. A pay-per-view, like I said, has happened the night before. So these are our current champions going into our series. The WWE
Mhm.
champion is Randy Orton.
Yeah, my man Snake Eyes.
The United States champion is Kofi Kingston.
Which I was not aware of, and as soon as I love Kofi.
The Divas champion is Maurice.
Yes, who has a nice little if I'm not mistaken, a nice little bit on commentary, which I will have some comments on when we get to it.
And the undisputed, unified WWE World Tag Team Champions are newly crowned, by the way. They won the titles at the Bash the night before. Edge and Chris Jericho.
Here's a good example here of looking at those packages. Obviously, I wasn't aware of that going in. Got it across to me pretty well. I definitely understood where they were at.
All of these, funnily enough, all 5 of these champions are wrestlers that Levi is familiar with from
Yes.
modern day wrestling. Maurice
Thank God.
not as much of a wrestling situation. You're not aware of her as much as a wrestler, more
No.
of a manager and a side attraction to the Miz.
Yes, I definitely recognized her name and her when she was present. Funnily enough, the other divas in this era, the other divas present in that match were much more familiar to me than the actual champion at the time.
Yes. So we've opened with alleged sex offender Vince McMahon.
More important than him is my first note, the beautiful sign I saw as soon as I opened this and had to pause the episode to laugh out loud at the "We Want Trump" sign.
Oh
which is
my god.
fantastic in our year 2024.
A fucking nightmare.
I I I was dying. I had to pause and explain to everyone around me why I was laughing so hard.
Well, I also have a note about a sign here. A sign that says "You're fired." It was spelled wrong.
Yeah, it was spelled wrong.
It was the wrong "your."
It was.
So Vince reveals that he has purchased Raw back from Donald Trump. But part of that deal was that he had to keep the Raw guest hosts, could not instate a general manager. And at the last minute, Trump had instituted a 3-way 15 superstar trade.
Yes, which is crucial to this episode.
And we will see 3 of those superstars debut on tonight's episode.
I have a point to make here before we move on with Vince's speech at the beginning. And Vincey has such a fucking large I don't think I've ever seen this man shirtless, and I don't think I want to, because either he is so bloated from you know what, or this man is wearing breast forms. His shoulders are way too large for his body, and he's got this, kind of look to him.
He is a weird looking human being.
He is a strange man. I wasn't aware that this was the era that was the impetus of this era was Trump's influence, and honestly could not have been a better way to start looking at this section and analyzing it. I'm obsessed with Trump having started this nonsense. What a fantastic start.
So Vince is not happy that he's had to do all these concessions, but
Of course,
that doesn't mean he's not going to name the best guest host he could find. And the first guest host of the era is the Animal, former world champion, Batista.
Star of M. Night's Knock in the Cabin.
Star of Guardians of the Galaxy. Star of Dune.
Star of Dune. I showed his face to my girlfriend Katerina, and I was like, "Hey, do you recognize this guy?" And she didn't. And I was like, "He's been in like 3 movies that we saw recently in theaters. He was in Dune. He was in Blade Runner 2049. He's been in all this other shit." I know him, honestly, at this point, more as a actor than I do as a WWE wrestler, which I think adds a nice little extra layer to his involvement here, because I'm looking at it more as, oh, this is a guy that's going to go on to have a pretty damn great acting career.
Probably the best acting career of any wrestler turned actor.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you. He's better than most of the other ones that I've seen. The only other one that comes anywhere close is Momoa, who isn't even really, he's related, but he's not really a wrestler.
Batista is here as an active wrestler, as the first guest host, because he's nursing an injury. He tore his bicep. Very clear. Yeah, he's wearing a very large brace on his arm. Very large brace. They mention on commentary he tore his bicep, and that's why he's hurt. But Batista has some announcements that he's gonna make.
He does, and I have a favorite line from his little bit here.
If I don't say it, then
I will let you know.
So Batista announces first that there will be a 4-man Night of Champions tournament to name a number 1 contender for the WWE title at Night of Champions. And the matches on tonight's episode of Raw will be The Miz versus John Cena and MVP versus Triple H.
And I have a question for you here, Frankie. This is something that he came up with, yeah?
That's what is implied, yes.
Okay. That's what's implied. And I think that this is something important to note here, because I'm going to have a specific critique of this episode in particular, I don't know if this is going to carry over to our next ones, but I think that the imposition of this tournament has a particular effect on this episode that I will be complaining about.
Okay. Batista keeps promising that fun will be had, but he does say he didn't want to do this. He would rather be wrestling.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But before he can get into any more announcements, he's interrupted by the Legacy, Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Ted DiBiase Jr.
Frankie, you warned me as we were going into this how different Cody Rhodes would look. And boy, howdy.
He is such a different human being.
It took me a minute to recognize him. It was his eyes that got me to realize who he was, because he still has those really striking
bright eyes.
Yeah, that's what clued me in.
2009 Cody Rhodes looks like 2024 Cody Rhodes' son.
Yes, absolutely.
The three of them threaten to tear Batista apart. But Batista responds that he will fire all three of them if they look at him the wrong way.
King shit.
Because he reveals he has unlimited power. He has all the powers that a regular general manager would have for this one night. So from 8 to 10 p.m., he is effectively in charge of all of Raw.
There's a later point. Do you mind if I skip ahead a little bit?
Go ahead, please.
There's a later point where there's a little backroom segment with the Legacy group, and Randy is complaining about the other members not being able to do anything. And they say something about, what they might be able to do. And this is right where it's been revealed who the next general manager is going to be, which I'm not going to say, of course. But immediately in that moment, my thought was, okay, well, why does it matter if any of them are going to get fired? Because the next general manager can just hire them right back on. There's your out.
That's
right
true.
There.
But Randy, I assume, would lose the title.
Yeah.
Batista starts making fun of Randy Orton for crying.
He does. This is my note. I loved his mock crying. And he has a line right there where he says, "I know how much you love 3-on-1s." And I was hoping he would just stop right there.
He reveals by that there will be no title defense tonight. Randy will not be forced to defend the title. Randy, the night before, had just gone through a 3 stages of hell match defending the title against Triple H. So he won't have to defend the title on Raw, but Raw does have 5 new superstars, and 3 of them will face Randy in a 3-on-1 gauntlet match in the main event. A gauntlet match is when you start with a 1-on-1 match. It's usually going to be like 3-on-1, 5-on-1. You start with the first guy on the team against the one. And if the one wins, the next person on the team comes out. So it's a series of 1-on-1 matches. Not going to be like a 3-on-1 handicap match where it's all 3 guys in the ring at one time against the one. So then we get an ad break.
Oh, before we move on here, I want to point out another thing. Something that I care a lot about with wrestling, because I like the stupid nonsense. I care about everybody's outfits. So I'm going to be commenting on people's outfits here. That holds a lot of weight to me. If you wear something boring, I'm not going to like you. You have some money at your disposal. You have your funny persona. I want you to wear something interesting that not only lets you stand out from the crowd. This is especially important when you're watching a Rumble or something like that. I want you to stand out, and I want you to look good. This is why I'm a big Seth Rollins fan. He always looks fucking fantastic. Randy and company all look naked in this scene because they're all wearing their tiny little underwear and a long t-shirt. They all look like they ain't wearing anything under that.
That is the look in this era, by the way. There's gonna
Oh
be a lot of
boy.
wrestlers that dress like this.
There are some of them that I'm really looking forward to seeing them that way, and there are some that I would rather not.
As we come back from the ad break, we get the Pizza Hut rewind,
Yeah, baby,
which is
Pizza Hut.
just a PowerPoint from last night's pay-per-view showing
Yes!
how Randy retained the title.
Which I was so disappointed by because in the modern era, we tend to get regular clips, actual
Yes.
moving clips. And this was just like, I'm not gonna watch this stupid one fucking I'm watching this in like 0 FPS.
This is what happened back in the day. So before the
It's so dumb. And
before
it's
the
all
network,
blurry.
yeah, before the network, when you actually had to pay $60 per pay-per-view
Oh
show,
my god.
they would air the highlights of the actual matches. Because later on, we do get like a video clip of the
Please.
pay-per-view, and then it transitions to the match, and it goes back to the PowerPoint thing. It, they only show you still frames of the matches because
You
they
are
want you to buy the replay.
You are not enticing me to buy the replay from this. I want to see the not all of the good moments, but a nice selection of them. This is not enticing me to watch the whole thing.
No, I would be. I've neglected some of my duties, Levi. I didn't talk about the Raw announce team.
Oh yes, important.
We have our ring announcer Lillian Garcia, who we
Mhm.
cut to as soon as the PowerPoint is over, and then we have the commentary team, Jerry the King Lawler and Michael
Yeah.
Cole, and this
Who I
is
like. I think they're usually rather funny when they're not talking about women.
this is pre Pat McAfee Michael Cole, so pre found his passion for wrestling once again Michael Cole. So not the best version of Michael Cole. The version of
No.
Michael Cole that we get now is like amazing.
It's middling. It's really middling for me because I know he can do better.
Yeah, we know it's there
Yeah.
because he's doing it right now, but we're gonna have to deal with middling Michael Cole for a while. So we go back to Lillian Garcia, and Triple H is making his way to the ring. The first match of the night will be Triple H versus MVP for in the Night of Champions #1 contender tournament, and Triple H has his leg taped up.
This is another one of my look comments. In general, I like the way Triple H looks in this era. I don't like him with short hair. He looks better with the long hair, in my personal opinion.
And your
But he
personal
looks,
opinion is right.
I know it's right. I'm always right. But he looks so wet. This man is sopping.
Triple H is a wet wrestler.
He is
He's always
dripping
wet.
wet.
And he comes
It's
out
ridiculous.
he comes out wet, and then when he's making his entrance, he pours more
More.
water on himself.
He was carrying. I think I saw that he was carrying a water bottle with him.
Yeah, that's part of his entrance. He carries the water bottle with him. He spits it out, pours it on himself.
Ridiculous. I kind of like it, but I would not want to touch him.
This is followed by another man you know from today. Again, not as a wrestler, but as a manager, Montel Vontavious Porter, MVP.
You say I know him. Now, Frankie, I have to tell you I don't recognize him and I don't know whose manager he is. And when I saw him, my first thought was one, I don't like this guy. And two, is it hypocritical knowing that later on the card, Miz is later on the card? Is it hypocritical if I hate him and really love the Miz?
No, I don't think it's hypocritical.
Because,
But
like, I mean, they're very similar characters. They've got a similar vibe.
well, I'll let you know right now. MVP a face, Miz not.
Well, yeah, obviously, and I cannot. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something, but MVP does not feel like a face to me. I hated him instantly.
So MVP for a while there, and during his his most recent WWE title run, was Bobby Lashley's manager,
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
currently is the manager for a man you are a member of the fan group of.
Yeah.
Both of us on this podcast are Homo sapiens. He is the
Yes.
manager of Omos.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I think the reason that I didn't recognize him then is probably I haven't seen it almost in a while. It's
He
been a little bit.
and you're used to MVP coming out with a cane and a full suit.
Ah, yeah, you're right. You're right. And he does not have the swagger in this at all.
While Triple H had a WWE title match the night before, MVP was at the BET Awards. They show
Okay.
images of him at the BET Awards. So we're going to get into the match here. They lock up. Triple H bounces off the ropes and shoulders MVP down, but obviously his leg is hurting him. And
Yes.
MVP is focusing on the leg. He reverses a spine buster and locks in the figure four. Triple H tries to flip them over to reverse the pressure, but he's unable to, and eventually he punches his way out of the figure four leg lock. But MVP double legs Triple H and kicks him away. MVP goes for another figure four, but Triple H reverses it and goes for the pedigree, but MVP escapes that, hits a face buster, and goes for Ballin, which is the move where he like runs up to him, stops right before him, does like the fake basketball throw, and then hits an elbow drop.
I want to like this so much. I really do. I really do. It's got a great name. It's got a funny look.
He yells in it, and a whole crowd yells, Ballin.
Yes. I loved that, and I really want to like him for that, but he's got this hateable whole persona go. I don't understand how
The
he's a face.
MVP character is infinitely better as a heel.
I can absolutely see that.
When he first
Absolutely.
debuted, it was on SmackDown, and they debuted him as like, oh, he's the number one free agent, number one draft pick, like the whole like sports thing. And he came out with like, you know how sometimes football teams have those inflatable arches that they like throw through.
Yes.
He came out with one of those and
He
all the
would be
smoke and
perfect.
firework. It was so good.
I would love him. See, I really want to like him, and I think I would love him if he was an asshole. I would love him if he was a little bit more dickish.
He hosted one of the talk shows called the Players Lounge.
Oh,
It was so good as a heel.
he just
Um,
does not work for me as a
he's a
face,
little. Some characters work better as a heel or a face, and
for
MVP is
sure.
definitely a heel character.
Yeah. I
Uh,
like the character concept, obviously, because I like a lot of similar characters, but they're all heels. He just doesn't work for me as a face at all.
So Ballin is hit. Triple H kicks out. MVP sends Triple H into the corner, but misses whatever he was going for. Triple H tries to lock in the pedigree once again, but MVP counters his way out, hits a big kick to the head in the corner, and
Mm,
Triple H kicks out of another pin attempt. MVP picks Triple H up and goes for his finisher, the Playmaker, which is that really convoluted move where he puts like his leg on the side of Triple H's head
yes.
and lifts his arm up. It's the fucking dumbest thing in the world.
It is, but it was also interesting. And at this point in the match, I fall off a bit when things aren't interesting. It's convoluted and a little bit stupid, but it's eye-catching. You've got a look here, and you're playing to it, and it works pretty well for both as a move and as your character. It's working pretty well for me. At this point, I was fairly invested, which is a damn shame for the rest of the match.
Yeah, because the match ends almost immediately.
Immediately.
He goes for the Playmaker. Triple H counters it, hits the pedigree, and the match is over. 1, 2, 3.
Yep. And this is where I realized what kind of episode this was going to be.
Let-
First, before I maybe I'll hold off on this critique for a minute. My main critique of this episode and where I feel like this might be going as a whole, as a series. I have another note here. My man Triple H here. Now, my guy Hunty, he's got another nickname that they're calling him by for this entire episode, and I don't like it. I don't like it.
What's the nickname?
Oh, you're gonna make me say it. I don't want
Yeah,
to say it.
'cause I don't remember what they call him. But that's because I'm so desensitized to all the nicknames of these guys. So
They
like I don't.
call him. I didn't write down what the actual nickname that they're calling him is, because every time it was said, all I could hear was the gay.
Oh,
They're
they keep
calling him
calling him.
the gays or something.
No, they're calling him the Game.
The game. Yes.
He is the Game. Triple H.
Yeah. So I hate it. It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
It's
I don't like it.
it is a old nickname from the Attitude Era.
I see there's this I have this weird bit where I like that it's in his theme, right?
It
Like you can
is.
hear it. You can hear it and it's very clear. So I do like that, but it doesn't fit him. I don't
Can
like
I
it for him.
can I tell you the origin of it
Oh yeah, sure.
and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
see
yeah.
how you feel about it after that?
Yeah, that
So
might endear me to it. It might be
Triple
that I
H,
just don't know.
when he started his career, was always like the textbook, like, oh, he's a good wrestler. He's a student of the game. He studies wrestling.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so as he's amping up for his first real world title run, he's doing an interview with JR. And in the interview, I don't know if this was a scripted line. I doubt it. Back then, they didn't do a lot of scripted lines, or if this was like planned to become a nickname later on. I don't know. But in the interview, he says to Hunter, Triple H says to JR, you keep constantly calling me a student of the game. I'm not a student of the game. I am the damn game. And then the interview goes on from there, and he talks about like how he should have had this opportunity years ago and all of that. But that's where the nickname for him comes from.
I might like it more if I was familiar with the context, or if I followed it from there. But I also just I it's just not very catchy.
How do you like it compared to his other two big nicknames, the Cerebral Assassin and the King of Kings?
I do like Cerebral Assassin. I do like Cerebral Assassin for two reasons. One, you could call that kind of intimidating. I don't think the game feels intimidating at all. Cerebral Assassin, if you want to play into it, if you want to take it, if you want to take wrestling at its word, that works as an intimidating moniker. And it's also kind of silly, which I also enjoy. I love one of the big reasons I like wrestling is it's an intersection of the silly and the serious. You've got people who are very good at what they do. They're very athletic, and they're great at showing it off. And it's a little bit silly. It's all play acting. That's what makes it fun. It's a little silly and a little serious. That's why that one works for me. The game just doesn't. There's nothing. It's just silly. It doesn't feel intimidating to me at all. King of Kings, I could take it or leave it.
Triple H has won. He's moving on to the tournament, and I want to stress right now. Oh, first of all, I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
Was there ever a point in this match that you thought MVP was going to win?
God, no. No, not at all. Not
Right,
even
yeah,
close.
Yeah.
Not even close. I could definitely, like I said, I could definitely appreciate some of the stuff he was doing. I can see him being good. Never in 1,000 years would ever think he would win.
Okay. And then the other thing is that I want to stress. After this match, after Triple H wins, they constantly tell us that Triple H will face the winner of Cena Miz on this episode of Raw.
Oh.
They say it repeatedly.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
That don't happen.
They face each other next week's episode of Raw.
That doesn't fucking happen. And this, I think this is a good time for me to bring up my main critique of this episode. Shit goes by too quickly. They are trying to condense way too much into a single hour and a half episode.
So you've figured out now, I think what one of the reasons why it feels like things are going too fast is you found the flaw of 2009 WWE style of
Immediately,
wrestling.
it stands out so quickly. Every match is over in a couple minutes. I
And
have
it's
no time to enjoy the build up and get a there's no there's no fun back and forth of this guy's on top, this guy's getting an advantage, he's coming back. There's none of that, none of it.
and
It's just it's over, it's
it's not
gone.
only that. It's not only that for this match and the John Cena match, as we'll get into.
Yeah,
Triple H and John Cena are effectively the top baby face, even though MVP is a face in the match. He's not as high up as Triple H. So Triple H and John Cena are the top baby faces in their match. They get beat up the entire match, hit one move, it's over.
they feel untouchable. They can take way too much and immediately win. It
And
doesn't feel like a fight.
and that is one of the issues that people have with this era of wrestling, especially with John Cena.
Yeah.
And it's why John Cena, when I first started showing you wrestling, it's why John Cena had the reputation of being a bad wrestler and someone that people did not like.
Which I can absolutely understand, because as soon as someone like him comes out and is involved in a match, I'm checked out, because I already know who the winner's going to be, and it doesn't really feel like anyone's trying for anything.
So after the Triple H match is over, we go to commercial again, and we come back to the Slam of the Week presented by Red Faction Gorilla. So the Red Faction Gorilla Slam of the Week is less of a slam and more of an entire match. It's if they show us Teddy Long from the Bash the night before coming out and saying that the tag title match between Primo and Carlito and Legacy is now a triple threat tag match, and he puts Edge and Chris Jericho into the match, and they win.
I was very hyped to see Carlito.
Yeah, I forgot again. Carlito, another wrestler in 2024.
Yes, who I really like. He's he's not like, one of my top favorites, but I definitely smile a little bit when he shows up.
So Jericho comes out first for the tag title match that he's going to have. This is something you're going to see a lot of. They don't use it anymore. They got rid of it, I think, a year and a half ago. The rematch clause. When a champion loses the title, they get an automatic rematch, whether if it's a mid card title or a tag title, it's usually going to be the night after that they utilize it. If it's the world title, it's usually going to be at the next pay per view.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I definitely haven't seen that. I don't think I've ever seen that at all in anything that we've watched together.
No, I don't think
it's
there's ever been a utilization of it.
it's interesting, but I don't think I particularly like it. I don't feel like it would work very well for a lot of storylines.
I don't
But
like it because it's a boring, cheap way of them to continue a
yeah,
rivalry where they could
it
just
feels
tell a
cheap.
better story.
Exactly. Yes. I feel exactly the same way. It feels very cheap. Why continue the same thing? You've already made your conclusion. I can see it being used sparingly in situations where it would work well, but only very sparingly. And as you mentioned, this is my one of my favorites, Jericho, who I have not seen with short hair
This is
like
short hair
this.
Jericho.
Short hair Jericho era. Oh my god, my first thought when I saw him was, "Hey, is that Gordon Ramsay?"
Yeah, I know. It's the Gordon Ramsay haircut.
From a
So
distance, they look so similar. So similar.
so Jericho and Edge are the tag team champions, despite this coming out separately. What do you think about that? What do you think about the tag champs coming out separately?
A little weird, but considering I don't remember who said it, but there's a later comment about these two very ego-driven personalities working together as a tag team. I kind of like it for that reason. They are both very, strong personalities, and I think it works really well to distinguish them as two separate people who are it feels like it feels like a power couple. They're working together for a purpose and not necessarily because they like each other or they work well together. Like, oh, this is done for a reason.
Yes.
And I really kind of like that. It fits well with the mythos around the team that they seem to want to build.
And they reveal the reason during their promo because Edge comes out second and they both have
Yes.
microphones. It's
And he
promo
fucking
time.
interrupts him. He interrupts Jericho.
He does.
How dare you?
Jericho says by virtue of his massive talents and prodigious abilities, he is back on Monday Night Raw.
Absolutely.
Even though he vowed he would never return to Monday Night Raw. Edge says that he approached Jericho in the back and when he was told of the opportunity to be in the tag title match because he said they needed to form a united front because of inept management holding them back. And now, because they are the undisputed tag team champions, they can be on any show, which at this point in time is one of the eras where they're doing the hard brand split where if you're on Raw, you're on Raw. You're on SmackDown, you're on SmackDown. You're on ECW, you're on ECW. And the only two people who are allowed to cross over onto the other shows are the undisputed tag team champions.
Which is another point where I actually really like that they come out separate. I think that really feeds into it, that these are the only people that are technically allowed to do it. And it works for me to feel them as two separate personalities. And to add on to that, not only does that help them feel like two separate personalities that are uniting, and the only piece uniting these two shows.
Edge begins to call the crowd losers. Before he can get too far into insulting the crowd, though, out come the challengers, Carlito and Primo, the Colognes, as I mentioned earlier, utilizing their rematch clause. Primo starts the match against Chris Jericho with an unnecessary roll. He just rolls on the ground.
Yes, I really kind of liked that.
I started laughing. I was like, what the fuck's he doing? What's this man on about?
It was kind of cute. It made him stand out.
So Jericho bounces off the ropes, hits a shoulder tackle to Primo. He goes off again, but Primo leaps this time and hits a drop kick, then a Hurricane Rana to take down Jericho. Edge interferes as Primo gets too close into the corner, but he is thrown into the turnbuckle by Primo and kicked off of the apron as Jericho is thrown into Edge outside of the ring.
Yes, I think this was one of the there are actually, I think there are two matches in this episode where there's a lot of out of ring nonsense. Yes, there are, because I know which one the other one is. There's a lot of out of ring nonsense, which I kind of enjoy. It was interesting. I like when they go out a little bit.
And one is good out of ring nonsense. One not as good.
Yes,
If it's the
completely
match I'm
agree.
thinking of.
I think you're probably right. This one works for me.
Yes. As Edge and Jericho get up on the floor, the Colognes hit sliding drop kicks on Edge and Jericho, sending them back down, and we go to a commercial break. Back from break, Jericho is in control inside of the ring. We see that they used an assisted flapjack where Jericho threw Primo up and Edge grabbed him and threw his face into the turnbuckle to get the advantage.
I loved we're going to come to it. There's another match where this doesn't work as well. But I love the way that they work together for this one. It feels like a good tag team. Even if it's one that I'm feeling as someone that doesn't Obviously, I'm not watching the other bits before this or anything on the side. Feels like they work very well as a team, even if it might be a marriage of convenience.
So Edge is tagged in and he begins stomping on Primo. He throws Primo into the corner hard and he goes down. A kick out at 2, and Edge tags Jericho in, who just starts slapping Primo in the back of the head. Primo is whipped back into the corner and Jericho goes for a signature move of his, the running bulldog, but Primo
Yes.
pushes Jericho off into the turnbuckle, and Primo gets the hot tag for Carlito, and he is in like a house of fire. He hits a springboard drop kick onto Jericho. He's going wild. Neck breaker into the pin, but Jericho kicks out. Jericho misses the lion salt, which is where he jumps off of the second rope into the moonsault. He misses that, which at this point in his career, he will almost always miss that move.
Oh,
Carlito then hits a springboard moonsault and goes for a backstabber, his finishing move onto Chris Jericho. But Chris Jericho counters and takes Carlito down, trying to lock in the walls of Jericho. He catapults Carlito into the corner because Carlito is fighting it too much. But Carlito hits Edge, springboards off of the corner into a crossbody, and Jericho kicks out at 2. Jericho tags in Edge, and Edge is about to hit a spear on Carlito, but Primo knocks Carlito down for Carlito to avoid the spear.
I really liked this bit.
That was a good little like move.
Yes. This one above any of the other multiple. I think this match really stood out to me, not only because honestly, I think maybe there was one other. We'll get to it. Maybe there was one other match that had some moments that were a little bit more standout to me. But if I had to pick a favorite, I think I would probably lean towards this one because both teams feel like they are operating at their best. I feel like Jericho and Edge, like I said, marriage of convenience, potentially. I don't know that much about their background as a team together other than what I've been told and what I've seen in this episode, but they seem to work quite well together. And Carlito and Primo also feel very similar. So I feel like they're putting them together works really well for me. This is unfortunately maybe one of the better tag matches that I've seen. It's kind of a shame because it's in the middle of an unfortunate era. But
Especially for tag team wrestling.
yes, especially for tag teams. But it's got the feel that I really want for a tag team match where it really feels like the teams are working as a team. There are definitely many that we have watched together where it feels more like people trying to be the better one of their team, or one main person and a side character. This feels like four main people doing their best together, which is a shame because they're in a bad episode.
Yeah. So after Carlito avoids the spear, he hits the backstabber and goes for the pin, but Jericho breaks it up. Jericho then gets taken out by Primo to the outside of the ring. Jericho then shoves Primo into the ropes, interrupting Carlito's attempt at a springboard, and he walks into a spear. Edge gets the pin, the 1, 2, 3, and they retain the titles. Carlito only saw Primo hit the ropes, doesn't realize Jericho shoved him, and so they are bickering with each other in the ring as we get a
Yes.
preview for some of the next matches. This shows some of the moving match graphics, by the way, the Randy Orton one where he's like
Yeah.
moving and then it goes to a still image. I love the moving match graphics. I miss them. I wish they did them more.
I've got two things to say about this. One, I wish, and I think this is something that I feel like they do more in the modern era. I feel like I wanted one. This is a match that, again, I liked, and I wish it would have gone on longer. I wish we would have had a little bit more out of it. It felt cut too short. I want a little bit more, not a lot, but just a little bit more out of it, because I like the way these people played together. And I like the way that they worked off of each other. They worked very well together for me. And so I felt like, okay, even if I'm not going to get a longer match, let me feel the tension between these two characters who have different perspectives on the match that they just participated in. Let them have a little bit more banter before you cut to some other nonsense that I would like to pay attention to both at once. Both of these things are interesting to me, and I want more time before you move on. With that note, yeah, I also do like the moving stuff better. I'd like a little bit more moving bits. I think it's nice. It looks good. I don't know why you don't utilize it more. Clearly you can do it.
The king then thanks the band Arenata for the official theme song of the Bash, which is entitled
Oh,
"Why You Want to Bring Me Down," all one word.
I laughed out loud at that because, one, I'd have to listen to the song again, but I didn't think it was anything special. And I kind of loved the name, though. I thought it was quite funny.
By the way,
it was a Fall Out Boy name to me.
their album available now. Just letting everyone know.
What
They're
band is
2000
this?
Arenata.
Arenata. Yeah. That's the band I've totally heard of.
They show us the website with some of the results from the Bash, and then we go backstage with Orton talking to the Legacy, complaining about Batista.
Yeah!
And Batista emerges in the locker room.
This
and
bitch
says,
was listening the whole time.
By the way, if either other member of Legacy get involved in the match tonight, the gauntlet match, they'll be fired on the spot.
And this is where, again, we reveal who the next.
Not yet. It's the next backstage.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Then these melded into each other for me.
They
Either
melded
way.
into me as well, but now looking at my notes, they're the next backstage they reveal.
Okay, all right, I'll hold it then.
Then we cut to a hype package for Cena versus The Miz. I'm assuming it's the one that they used at the Bash the night before, because they did face each other the night before.
And see, this is where we get into things. We already touched on this a bit. This is where we get into a place where it just feels it feels like it's a shame and anticlimactic, because at this point, obviously, I've already watched the whole episode. I know how this is going to turn out. I look back on it, it makes me wish for a better match. I would not be able to rewatch this. I wouldn't be interested in it, because the package that you put forward is much more interesting than the outcome. The actual match itself is, again, too short for what you want to build up. It's better than some of the other ones. There's so much intrigue here. I'd be interested in watching something that was better performed. Not that either of them did a bad job in it. I think they did fine, but they needed more time. That's the real problem with this for me. This feels like 2 episodes shoved into one. They feel real, they feel good. I like their characters. They play very well off of each other. Again, very similar to this tag match. They play very well off of each other. They've got like 30 seconds to do the shit that they need to do. And it's a good setup, horrid execution. Great setup. I feel it. I want it. I want to see it. the execution shoved into a tiny sliver of the time that they deserve.
I have two things from the hype package. One, I love Miz calling John Cena a corporate puppet.
Yes.
Knowing what the Miz is now is fucking
Yeah.
hilarious. Because the
It's
Miz,
perfect. And it's perfect for both of them because the Miz is playing a corporate puppet now,
yeah, the
and
Miz is
John
that
Cena
guy.
literally is. They
Yeah,
both are. One is playing one, and the other is literally a. Yeah, it's
and
great. It's perfect. I
the
love it.
second thing is, what do you think of this version of the Miz? You love the Miz. You love
Oh
2024 Miz.
my god. Oh my god. My notes say, oh my god, the Miz's hair. I love it. I think he looks great. I love the fucking highlights. I love the purple streak. I think he looks hot as fuck. He looks great. It's perfect too. This is 2009. He's perfect for 2009. He's got this great punk look to him. Casual, relaxed, like scene 2009 look. I love it. It's perfect. He works so well.
I
I
love this version of the Miz.
for sure. And as soon as he's on the I've never disliked the Miz on the mic. He's always been great on the mic, and this is the best I've ever seen him at. He's got it. He's really got it. He's got the look. He's got the charisma. He's got the whole package for exactly what he's going for. I wish again. This is I think the pain that I'm going to be feeling for the entire rest of this run. He's at a great point, and he's in a bad era. He's got a great character, and he's in a shitty place for it.
So
I love the way he looks. I love the way he speaks,
so
and
we
it's not utilized. It's not utilized right.
no. We see John Cena walking backstage towards the ring. We cut to an ad, and then we get a WWE Did You Know fact. So, Levi, did you know last week's Raw was watched by over 2 million females?
I'll have you know. I'll have you know that I was watching for this nonsense and these little bits and the I skipped past it.
Oh my god.
Not only did I skip past it because not only did I not care, but I don't believe them.
Oh no,
I
definitely
don't
not.
believe them.
So we go to the second of our tournament matches. Out first is John Cena, followed by The Miz in his anti-Cena shirt.
I loved it. I thought his outfit here was great. I really liked it.
So
The hair is great.
the hair is phenomenal.
The hair is perfect.
When I was this is when I first started watching wrestling. I wanted Miz hair as a kid.
I don't blame you. It's so good. I love it. It's so great. You look good in it. It's great. I love it. And the shirt, his whole outfit, fucking 8 or 9 out of 10, works perfect for his. I know who he is by looking at him. That's what I want out of a wrestler. I want to know who you are and what your character is by looking at you. And I know exactly who he is by looking at him.
So the match starts and they lock up. Miz takes control early, whips Cena into the ropes, but it is or tries to whip Cena, but it's reversed. And Cena starts throwing the Miz around. He hits an elbow drop into a pin, but the Miz kicks out at one. He whips the Miz into the corner, but the Miz gets a boot up as Cena rushes him, takes Cena down before raining punches on him.
Oh, I've got a note to make about them getting in the corner. I think it's this point in the match. It might be a little later. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But I have a note to make about this match in general. Frankie, this is an incredibly homoerotic match.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god. When they're in the corner and they're just He's just leaning down. Oh,
Mm.
you
So
are inches, mere centimeters. And the end too. Go ahead.
So Miz is in control once again, but Cena hits that same reversal on an Irish whip attempt, and then he hits a big back body drop, followed by a fisherman suplex into a pin, but the Miz kicks out at 2, and then
Mm.
Cena locks in a reverse chin lock. Back into the corner, Cena is forced to let go, and Miz takes a cheap shot as the referee separates them, and then takes control with a suplex into a pin. Cena kicks out, but Miz locks in his own reverse chin lock. Cena gets up and powers out, but Miz hits a knee to the gut to remain in control. So Miz hits the knee into a big neck breaker, which I'm pretty sure was called the Mizzard of Oz at some point.
Love that name, by
It's
the
a good
way.
name. So Miz goes for another Irish whip, and he really should have stopped because Cena reverses it once again.
There's this is a note that I have also, and I don't think I have the context to make a real comment on it, but I feel like there are a lot of reversals in this episode in general.
Yeah. So when he reverses the Irish whip, he goes for the running bulldog similar to Jericho, and Miz shoves him off. He then
Mm.
pulls Cena's neck like into the rope by jumping out of the ring. So like Cena's like hung up on the rope. Miz jumps over him and grabs Cena's head and just shoves his neck into the rope.
I liked that quite a bit. It felt very brutal.
Yeah. So we go to break with Miz in control of the match. Come back. He's still in control. During the break, the Miz hit a diving axe handle. Back in the current time of the match, Cena rushes Miz in the corner, but Miz gets away and hits a big clothesline and goes back to the mounted punches. Miz is back in firm control of the match. He rushes Cena in the corner with the signature clothesline where he ends up like seated on the second rope.
Yes. Looked very I thought that looked pretty good.
It's one of his signature moves. I think he continues to use this time and time again. Miz goes up to the top rope, but Cena meets him up there with punches, puts the Miz on his shoulders, but Miz slips out and hits an electric chair drop. Cena kicks out of two pin attempts there, but Miz is still in control of the match with repeated knees to the head. He hits a big kick to the head of John Cena, but Cena kicks out of another pin attempt. Miz starts talking smack, and Cena hits a drop toe hold and goes for the STF, but Miz counters and locks in a sleeper. Cena falls to the ground in the sleeper, but he makes his way up to his feet again, backs Miz into a corner, and hits 4 of the 5 moves of Doom, but he doesn't finish it. So these are the 5 moves of Doom: shoulder block, reverse suplex, 5 knuckle shuffle, followed up by the attitude adjustment, but he doesn't hit the attitude adjustment. Instead, he hits some weird move where he jumps over the Miz and smashes his face into the ring. A move I've never seen John Cena do. After that weird move that I've never seen Cena hit before, he hits a diving leg drop, locks in the STF, and Miz taps out. Like I mentioned earlier in the episode, this is one of the reasons that a lot of people hated Cena in the era. He would get his
Yes.
ass kicked the entire match, and then hit 5 to 7 moves, win the match.
This is exactly how I felt because I love the Miz, so I was pretty invested in this match and I was interested in watching the whole thing. I think he's a pretty great wrestler and well, he's okay. He's a pretty good wrestler, I'll say. He's pretty good, but he's best on the mic, right? He's best as an actor and he's a incidentally pretty okay wrestler, right? And watching this, wow, I wanted better out of both of them. I think they both did fine, but this ending was really it was really painful to me and I think eh, obviously the point for me had already hit home of oh, all this shit is going to end way earlier than I feel like it should. because we'd already seen that. But this one really, really hammered it home for me because I'm seeing this great struggle between the two of them, and it's really working for me. And then it's just over. It's just over. And I blink and everything is just instantly over. And it was just so anticlimactic. I wanted something better. And I know they can both do better. That's the bad part of it. I've seen them both do so much better. And I know they are both capable of selling and really making a not even much longer, but slightly longer, much more emotional match work. It was great right up until the end, and the end is just like instant. It's instant. I want to feel more struggle. There's no struggle here. It's immediately over. Cena wins. Fuck you. And
So
I hate it. I hate it. I don't want that. And I don't think anyone wants that. I think, and I again, this is my thing. I have no problem with the face winning or the heel, even if it's someone that I don't like. I don't care if they win. The problem I have here isn't with who won. It's that I don't feel like they earned it. They're not selling it to me. I don't feel like he earned the win. I feel like it was given to him, and this was just, oh, this is the point where you win. Who gives a fuck about who wins? I want you to tell me how you won. And you did not tell me that. You just said, oh, I won. Fuck you. I don't want that shit. I want to see you win. I want to see you struggle. That's what makes it work for me. And this just doesn't work. Up until the end, it's pretty good. It's not half bad. That's a shame of everything that I'm seeing right now from this episode. And I'm gonna be in a lot of pain if it continues to the era, because it's not half bad right up until the end. And it's just gotta be done. They just gotta finish, and they finish, and it's you got 5 seconds, you pull out, you're done. You got nothing.
after that, we go backstage. Oh, well, they say that Cena will face Triple H next week instead of what they said earlier, which is that they would face each other tonight.
Which, I mean, I don't really care about that. I care about you trying to make me care about it, and you are not doing it. So I don't really give a fuck if you do it this week or not.
And then we go backstage with Randy and Legacy once again. Cody is trying to hype up Randy, and Randy tells him
Yes.
to shut up.
Yeah. Lay off my man Cody.
Ted DiBiase says that he was talking to his dad and
Yes.
reveals that Ted DiBiase Sr., the $1 Million Man, is next week's guest host. And Randy wants to know, how will that help him tonight?
Which I have a note on. Again, I said before, he makes a point here, Randy does, of how will this help me tonight? Because, idiot, if they get fired tonight, they can be rehired the next night. Dipshit. That's how, I mean, come on. They can be rehired immediately. That's why it's a big deal. And everything here is so underutilized. I think that's the problem. Not only the matches are underutilized, but the play between general managers are underutilized. I can see a rotating guest manager really work as a fun story beat, but you're not using it in a fun way. This is a fun way that you could use it. Like, oh, okay, they interfere and they're fired by Batista, but next week they're rehired because you have that ace in the hole of the $1 Million Man just rehiring them because those are his guys, and that's fine. That'll work for everybody. It's okay. It's nonsense, but wrestling is full of nonsense, and that's just the way it works. I don't see why you couldn't have used this to
Yeah.
make a more interesting and fun story. Now, here's the point where I want to note, I've been complaining about, I feel like this shit moves a little too fast, and you aren't giving me the time and opportunity to invest in the matches that you're showing me. You're moving them along way too fast. However, I want to note, I think the tournament setup in itself is quite fun. I like it. I like the concept, and I think it's interesting. But the execution is so poor. The execution is so poor. You could have done this in a much more interesting way. And that's the rub of it. Is you take this concept, which on its face isn't bad. It's not bad to have a rotating general manager. It's not a terrible idea to play with. Oh, let's throw things around, let's shake it up. But you didn't do it in a way that was structured and interesting. You have the capability to look ahead and say, okay, well, behind the scene, on the surface, for those who are watching, they can pretend. They have the suspension of disbelief. They can pretend, oh yeah, none of this was planned. But in reality, it all either was or could have been. You could plan these things and make them work. That's the issue, because you didn't. You didn't make them work. Here's where my issue is going to lie with the entire future of everything we're watching. You could have made this work very well. It could be very fun. And you decided not to do it.
We move on to our next match, a fatal four-way where the winner
Oh,
will
yeah.
face
I love
Maurice
fatal four-way
for the Divas title at Night of Champions. First out is Kelly, followed by Mickie James. Then we have Maurice, the Divas champion, who is not competing in this match. She's here for guest commentary, but she is coming out before the other two Divas. And my note is probably because the other two are not getting entrances.
Yeah.
Yep, they're not getting entrances. We come back from break, and the other two are in the ring. It's Beth Phoenix, and I didn't recognize who it was at first because they didn't get an entrance. I thought it was Natalia for a moment.
Oh, wow.
And
Not
then
even close.
I realized, oh, it's Rosa Mendez. I didn't realize she was on the roster at this point.
I got to be honest with you. I have, let's see, I think I have one note for this entire match. Yep, I have one note for this entire match, which is, in its full, Mickie, yay!
All right, well, I'll do a speed through run of this match then. On commentary, they talk about rumors about Maurice and Miz, and Maurice says that the Miz is so in love with her. This is true in storyline and in real life. They are dating at this point. They began dating in 2008.
Good for them.
They
I
even
like
get...
her. I love Mickie. I think she's cute, nice.
Well, this
I
is
like
Maurice.
her.
Maurice.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is when they're talking about Maurice and the Miz.
Maurice is fucking boring as fuck.
Yeah. But
I
they
don't give a
say
shit about her.
Maurice and the Miz are dating at this point. They started dating in 2008, and they eventually get married in February 2014. And as Levi will know, Maurice is famously to Levi, Maurice is Mrs. My pregnant wife.
Yes! Oh, yes! She's the pregnant. That's the only reason that's a shame, because that's the only reason I care about her, is that she's the pregnant wife. Which is damn shame, because she's not even participating here. She could be much more interesting, but she's just the pregnant wife.
We get to the match. We'll do a speed run since you have no notes about it beyond Mickie.
Yeah.
Yay.
My only note is I like Mickie James.
All right. So Kelly and Mickie are alone in the ring.
I do have an additional commentary to make when we get to the end, but that's it.
Okay, so Kelly and Mickie James are alone in the ring after a bit. They start trading covers with each other before Rosa Mendez comes in and then is taken out immediately with a double drop kick. Beth Phoenix comes in, takes out both Kelly and Mickie, goes for a pin on each of them, but they both kick out. Beth takes control until Mickey gets out of a suplex and locks in what I think was a dragon sleeper of some kind. It looked weird. Rosa locks Mickey, though, in a reverse chin lock, and then Kelly locks Rosa in a sleeper hold. Beth escapes her dragon sleeper and spears the other three all into the corner. Kelly and Rosa roll out, leaving only Beth and Mickey in the ring. Beth beats a German suplex attempt by Mickey off, but then gets hit by a sunset flip from Kelly and kicks out. All four women then trade pins amongst each other, and all of them are broken up. Mickey takes down Rosa, and then Beth hits her with a power slam. Kelly breaks up the pin. Mickey and Kelly then team up against Beth Phoenix with a double shoulder tackle, but she kicks out as Mickey just watches Kelly go for the pin instead of breaking it up, because as soon as there's a pinfall, the match is over, Mickey.
Yeah.
Beth hits the glam slam on Kelly, but Mickey breaks up the pin attempt there. Now Beth and Mickey trade blows. Mickey into the corner, elbows Beth. Mickey takes her out with a Frankensteiner and then a kick, sending Beth headfirst into the apron, which makes a gnarly sound.
It does. It does. I think this is probably the location. A lot of the sounds in this episode were really good. I don't want to call it Foley because it was not, constructed, but a lot of the audio of hits here worked really well for me. It did sound good.
Mickey then hits a weird Mickey DT, which is a DDT on Rosa to pick up the win. It didn't look like she connected with it full. Like someone slipped up in that move, and Mickey James is a lot smoother than that usually. So I want to give her the benefit of the doubt and say Rosa might have messed up. Rosa is kind of new at this point. So, but Mickey James gets the win. She's now the number one contender. She stares down Maurice and then approaches her as we go into replays. And then Mickey James is in the ring hugging Kelly.
I loved the bit with Mickey harassing
Maurice.
She's
barely harassing her. She's just like staring at her.
Yeah, she's really just staring at her. But I really liked it. This is entirely personal bias because I know and love Mickey.
We then cut backstage and see the Big Show, and we find out that he will be facing the United States champion, Kofi Kingston.
And there's a lot of commentary about how big the Big Show is.
Man, anytime you see the Big Show, commentary is just going to be talking about how big the man is.
So it's so dumb because obviously, like, it's in his name.
Yeah.
We know he's big. We know.
Before the match, though, we see an ad about the WWE SummerSlam Reading Jam to encourage kids to read at local libraries.
I thought that was cute.
That librarian in the ad said World Wrestling Entertainment like she's never said any of those words before. Like it's the first time she's seen any of those words. It was the most awkward thing in the world.
It was great. I loved it.
So after that, Big Show comes out, and during his entrance, we find out Raw has been presented by Red Faction Gorilla, the video game.
Again.
And Pizza Hut with the Big Eats Little Price menu.
I have to know this for me because it's Kofi that's going to be coming out next.
Yes.
They keep saying Big Eats, and I keep hearing Big E.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, where's my man? He's just not here.
Biggie and Xavier. I think Xavier Woods is wrestling as Consequences Creed in TNA at this point in time.
Cute.
And Biggie isn't a wrestler yet. Before Biggie debuts as a wrestler.
Oh, but I know it's coming. I know it's coming.
So now comes out U.S. champ.
I love him.
Kofi Kingston.
Yes. Now, this is a point that I have to make. Holy shit. I don't think I've ever seen Kofi enter on his own. What a fantastic entrance.
His
What a
song
great
or his
entrance.
entrance?
I love both. I love
Yes.
both.
So
He's got a great song. He's got a fantastic entrance. He's a great presence. I
when
love
he
him.
makes his way to the ring, did you hear where he's from?
Tell me, please.
They say he is from Jamaica. He's not. He is
That's
from
not
Ghana.
true.
He is from Ghana. That's where he was
Yeah,
born.
I was like, that's not true. I know this.
Because he's the
That's not
first
right.
he is the first African-born WWE champion.
Yeah.
But he debuted as a Jamaican. That's why his last name is Kingston.
Oh, I
And
didn't know that.
we don't hear him speak this entire episode. You've heard him speak in
I
promos.
have.
When he debuted with a fake Jamaican accent.
No.
So I don't know if he drops it pretty quickly, and they do they make some comments on it, but I don't think he's dropped it yet. Because from what I remember, when we get to November, which will be a while for us on our timeline, but when we get to November, he's part of a tag team for Survivor Series with DX, and he starts cutting a promo in his normal voice. And either Sean or Hunter make a joke about him dropping the Jamaican accent.
No fucking way. Oh, that's really funny.
So yeah, so he might still have it. He doesn't speak tonight, so we don't know. But he might still have the fake Jamaican accent. The Kofi Kingston versus Big Show starts with Kofi kicking at Show's legs, trying to take the big giant down, but he is taken down instead by a huge clothesline. And Big Show begins working on Kofi's arm. Kofi tries to fight back, but that is shut down quickly. Big Show.
Quickly is the key word.
Yeah. Big Show hits a big scoop slam and goes for a jumping elbow, but Kofi rolls out of the way, hits his own jumping kick, and begins to hit a series of kicks and punches. Tries to Irish whip the big man, but fails. But he then hits a missile drop kick, followed up by the boom drop. He goes for the pin off the boom drop, but is thrown high into the air at the count of 2. He leaps onto Show's shoulders in the corner, but Show dumps him from his shoulders to the floor outside of the ring. Show then goes for a big press slam outside of the ring onto Kofi, but Kofi slips out and shoves the Big Show into the ring post, and the Big Show falls hard to his hands and knees. The ref has been counting this entire time, and both men are counted out, so we end with a double count out. What a shit match.
What a shit match indeed. I was excited for this. Seeing Kofi, who I love, later on. I've seen him work incredibly well with the New Day as a team. I love them together. Biggie, obviously a big man slapping meat, which I can appreciate, of course. I appreciate big meaty man slapping meat. But I also my particular enjoyment is in technical, obviously, as stated. Kofi's
so good.
Great technical, beautiful. Oh my god, underutilized here. He could do so much better in a match where he's actually able to flourish. Same thing with the Big Show. Honestly, same thing with the Big Show. He's also fine. He's totally fine in his own area where he's able to do the things that he is best at. This is not a match where they are shown off to the best of their ability. It's a tiny compressed match where if they were both given the time to show off their ability, I would love it. This would be a match that would work very well, but we are given mere moments to appreciate either of them.
Yeah, it's not enough time, and there's no winner. They both get counted out. It's sad.
It's a fucking shame. You've wasted it. You've wasted my time. You've wasted your match. You've wasted everything. And I demand the refund that Vince pretended we might get.
Match ends. We go to break, and we get another Raw Did You Know fact. And this one was that last Monday's Raw was watched by more people than any show on ABC, NBC, CW, or Fox.
I believe that. Other than no, I believe that because they were all shitty channels in 2009. Fuck off. The only
It's
good thing on
also
in 2009 is what, Fringe?
it's also the summer on a Monday night. The only
Everybody's outside
Yeah.
bonfires, baby.
Notice how also they're gonna air this fact in the fall, and they're never gonna name ESPN because that's where Monday Night Football airs.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
So then we get a graphic showing that the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase is indeed next week's guest host.
I'm interested. I'm hopeful that that will be a better episode than this one.
And
Not no shame on Batista. I think the tournament idea. I think the tournament idea is fun. It's cute. I like it. It's a 2-episode arc, though. It is not a single episode thing. You can't fit it all into one.
Batista really didn't do a lot. He created 3 matches, basically, the main event, which we're about to review, and then the tournament.
Yes.
That's it. He didn't really do much else.
I think this could have worked well if it was 2 episodes instead of 1.
We're gonna hit our TV main event, the 3-on-1 gauntlet match. First out.
And boy, do I have almost no notes to talk about because almost nothing happens.
Yeah, so first out is our WWE champion, Randy Orton, limping his way to the ring, selling the 3 Stages of Hell match from last night.
Yes. I have to admit, I really like Orton here. I think he does a pretty damn good job of selling it.
Who is Randy's first opponent from the trade? It is from ECW, Evan Bourne.
I don't know any of these guys.
Well, you're going to see their debut on Raw and watch their journey.
At this point, I have one that I'm interested in, and I would love to let you guess at the end. Let's let you guess at the end.
So Randy starts in control, just battering Evan down. He whips him into the rope, but Evan responds with a flying forearm bouncing off the rope. Randy then throws Evan Bourne outside and goes to suplex him in, but Evan flips over Randy Orton and rolls Orton up for the kick out. Bourne hits a spinning heel kick, goes for a pin again, but Randy kicks out again before taking out Bourne with a huge uppercut to the throat. Orton slows down the pace and stomps on Bourne's ankle repeatedly. He then picks him up, but Evan trips him down, and hits a standing moonsault. He then rolls Orton up once again, but Randy kicks out. Evan Bourne then hits a drop toe hold and a slide kick to the head, but that only gets a 2 count. Randy whips Bourne into the corner, but he goes up top and hits Randy with a diving Meteora. Bourne then goes up top again and is going for his finishing move, the Airborne. But Randy hits the rope, knocking Bourne into the turnbuckle, and Orton hits. Okay, commentary repeatedly calls it a flying bulldog.
Yeah, they do.
It was clearly an RKO.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny.
So he hits a super RKO, basically, because Bourne's on the top rope. Pins him 1, 2, 3. Randy has 2 more opponents left. And his next opponent is, once again from ECW, the All-American Jack Swagger.
I have to say, I love his name. Good name. Bad execution.
As Jack Swagger is making his way to the ring.
I've got a comment on what he's going to say here.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So as Jack Swagger's making his way to the ring, Randy is huffing in the corner.
He's suffering. Look, I'm not a huge Randy fan.
And this is Psycho Randy, by the way. We're at psychotic Randy Orton.
We are. He sells this. He sells this for me.
For context, we've just come off of the Randy Orton. This is after WrestleMania 25, if my math is correct. this is Randy Orton just after he has just like beaten up every member of the McMahon family, handcuffed
Yeah,
Triple H to the rope, and kissed Stephanie in front of him as she was knocked out in the ring like a psycho.
I have to admit to you, I'm rooting for Randy here.
So, match.
I like him. I'm liking him here. He's clearly up against a little bit too much, and I'm interested in seeing who is being placed against him. I'm feeling some desire for him to win, not just because he's the one that I know and I like a little bit because I know what he's capable of. But I I think especially with the guest general manager here, he's up against too much, and I think that's the way that it should be played. Like he's up against something that's impossible, and I'm happy to root for him here.
But he is the bad guy. He is a psychopath.
I know he's the bad guy, but just because they want to bill him as the bad guy doesn't mean that I have to take it that way.
That's fair.
And I don't feel it like I don't feel him as the villain. I might if I was aware of all the backstory, but within this episode specifically, I don't feel him as the bad guy. I feel him as a man up against an impossible challenge, which is a little bit of a problem, I think, in the context of okay, well, if I'm just tuning in now, how do I feel about this man?
Yeah.
I know Randy because you and I have watched a lot of things with him in it. Taking these things out of context, just looking at it, this is unfair. I'm rooting for Randy. Also, I do like him as a wrestler in general, but just looking at the situation, I don't. Who could root against him?
Yeah, that's fair. It's a bad situation for him to be in. Jack Swagger comes in, immediately hits like an amateur wrestling takedown on Randy. And then he goes onto the apron, folds his arms, and smirks at the ref as the ref counts him out. Swagger then gets a mic and goes back into the ring. He says he likes and respects Randy, and he wanted to leave a lasting impression on his first night on Raw. He shakes Randy's hand and he leaves.
And I have commentary here. I'll hold it. I think I'll hold it.
You'll hold it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So we have our final opponent, again from ECW, the world's strongest man, Mark Henry. And Randy.
Yeah.
They cut to Randy Orton and he looks fucking sick. He looks like he's gonna throw up.
He looks like he's about to die.
And Mark Henry comes down to the ring, mic in hand, and he says he also has always liked Randy and has a lot of respect for him. And he also wants to make an impression on his first night on Raw. And he wants it to be a good one. And he fucking shoves Randy Orton down. And then he leaves the ring. The ref starts counting him out. And as the ref reaches 5, he physically grabs the ref's hand, laughs, wags his finger at Randy.
Yeah, I loved that.
And goes back into the ring to fight him.
Randy, I loved it.
The finger wagging?
Yes. It made me so happy, especially after the last opponent. I loved it. Felt like he was mocking Swagger. It was such a great laugh out loud moment for me.
It is funny. Back in the ring, Randy gets on his knees and is begging Mark Henry to not do this.
Yeah, because he's so much. Not only is he so much bigger,
he's fresh.
But yeah,
Mark didn't wrestle. Mark didn't wrestle at the pay-per-view last night. He hasn't just wrestled a match against Evan Bourne. Admittedly, a short match, but he did wrestle against Evan Bourne. Mark is ready to go. Mark chokes
He's relaxed.
Randy and shoves him into the corner and then just fucking tosses him like a fucking bag of groceries into your trunk. He just throws this man.
I wrote, and this is probably a better conclusion. I don't know any of Randy Snake Eyes Orton's bitches, but I loved this guy just hanging out and leaving a lasting impression of how fucking boring all of this was. I loved him for this. Gave me this that all of this episode was building up. We all knew the match that they pretended they were building to wasn't really going to happen here. So this was the real titular match. So I really loved that Mark Henry took the opportunity to laugh at all of the nonsense and just make something that was going to be entertaining. And I think I didn't have very much appreciation for him before this. He was a wrestler, just a guy.
When you started watching, it was the tail end of Mark Henry's career.
Yes, and I never really cared very much, but this showed me a little bit of his potential, I think, in that he has this sarcastic bit to him that I like.
So yeah, I like Mark Henry a lot, but
I kind of fell in love with him a little bit.
So
his smarmy look, his fuck you. I really liked it. I think I really like him now entirely because of this episode, which again, I've said this several times, a shame that this is what makes me like him because he deserves better. But I like him because of this. This episode gave me, oh fuck, he's got a character. I see him in a way I haven't seen him before. He's got that moxie. He's got the charisma. I can feel him as a character.
Mark, after tossing him, puts Randy back in the corner, takes him down with some headbutts. He then puts him in the next corner, whips him across the ring, and hits a big splash. He then whips Randy into another corner, and Randy gets out of the way and gives Mark Henry a little slap. Mark Henry responds with a headbutt to the face, and Randy falls to the ground. He then gets up, goes for the RKO. Mark shoves Randy into the ropes. On the rebound, he grabs him, hits the world's strongest slam, and beats the WWE champion, Randy Orton. I'm sorry to disappoint you now, Levi. Mark Henry, you will now go languish in the mid card for 3 more years until you beat Randy Orton again in 3 years and actually win the World Heavyweight title. He will eventually win the world title. It just takes 3 years and falls out of our timeline. Batista,
which is a shame. It's a shame because I really like him as a character. He's got such a fun character. I think he's so charismatic, even in these little moments.
I will say this: Batista or Mark Henry, when he wins the world title, doesn't have this character. He has a different character. I think it might be a little better. It's the what they refer to as the Hall of Pain character, where he's a heel. He just becomes more of a badass and beats people up. And then what he does when he wins his matches is he inducts them into the Hall of Pain by wrapping a chair around their ankle and then doing a big splash onto the chair, essentially breaking their ankle.
That would work so well for me. Honestly, I think he would work. He is exactly what I want in a heel. Someone that is charismatic, that I care about them, and I think I enjoy him. I like him. He's fun. I love his sort of like sardonic smiles, his little smirks. I love it. I love him.
So
A little evil.
Batista comes out to the top of the stage, very happy that Orton got beat by Mark Henry. Michael Cole says high grades for Batista being the guest host. And next week, we will have Cena versus Triple H to name the number one contender for Orton's WWE Championship at Night of Champions. And that is the end of our first episode of Raw.
And I want to read real quick the last note that I have, which is I've read part of it, and I want to reiterate that I don't know much about any of Randy Snake Eyes bitches, but I loved these guys just hanging out and pretending that they might get a lasting impression because of it. And they will get a lasting impression out of me because of how motherfucking boring they all were. God damn.
But not Mark Henry. Mark Henry wasn't boring.
No, Mark Henry was great. He was great.
I'm assuming
his
he
whole
is
match
the one
was
you're more in.
fantastic.
I assume he's the one you're intrigued by and want to see more of.
Exactly. Yes, you were completely correct. He's the only one that I'm really interested in seeing more of. Because excuse me, not only did he play off of what was going on before him, but he's a fun character. I like him.
It sucks that they really didn't show you what Evan Bourne can do, because Evan Bourne is a high flyer who you would like when he
Oh,
gets the opportunity to have an actual match.
yeah.
But
I'm a huge fan of high flyers.
so I'm excited for you to see an actual Evan Bourne match when he gets an opportunity to get out there. We
I'm
have
definitely excited for that. Yeah. And I'm really sad he didn't get to show that off. That's something that I'd really like.
we have
I think for me, the high points of this episode. The high points for me of this episode were the Miz and Edge and a touch of Mark Henry.
okay. Well,
I would like to see those three doing the best as we move on.
there are three things I want to end each episode
Yeah.
with you, Levi. The first one isn't really much of a thing tonight. It's ranking the guest host. Batista's the first, so he's number one by default.
Of course.
The second, though,
I will predict, I will say, I'm gonna predict, I predict he remains fairly high. How many episodes do we have in total?
I don't know the total amount of guest hosts for Oz.
Estimate for me.
There's probably about 70, maybe.
I predict he remains in the top 20.
73 episodes.
73. I predict he remains in the top 20.
All right. So the other two are Match of the Night and MVP.
Match of the night. Let me look at my notes.
I have an easy match of the night while you're looking for it.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
My match of the night is easily the tag title match. Edge and Jericho versus Primo and Carlito.
I want my match of the night. I want my match of the night to be Randy and Mark Henry.
All right, Randy versus Mark Henry.
No.
Oh, you want it to be?
I want that to be my answer, but I agree with you.
Oh, and the tag match was good. It was the only one that they let develop at all a little bit.
I completely agree. I think that the Randy Mark Henry match would be better if it had more time to develop. So, the top match of our night is the tag team. Absolutely. That also deserved more time, but
And then
they worked the best together, and I thought even with the limited time they had, they did a damn good job with it.
the final award to give then is MVP. Who's your MVP of this episode of Raw?
Miz.
The Miz. All right.
Yeah.
My MVP is Randy Orton.
The only reason the Miz is getting it for me is because I feel him more. He got more time, he got more development. If Randy got a little bit more, he would win for sure.
That's fair. That's completely fair. So, with that being said, we are done with our first episode of the show. Oh, wow. I'm an idiot. I am an idiot.
Yeah?
We didn't tell them the name of the show.
Oh, fuck! You're right. Oh, hey! Can I do it? Can
Yeah,
I
you
do
can
it?
say the name.
Oh, yeah. Hello, my beautiful, godforsaken viewers. This is the end of this week's Ring Rundown.
Yes. The name of our show is The Ring Rundown. We will see you again in a month to talk
Yes, we
about
will.
the next episode of Raw, guest hosted by the Million Dollar Man Ted DiBiase, and I assume main evented by John Cena versus Triple H. Who knows?
God knows. My man, Vincey McMahon, knows.
I wish he didn't. I wish he didn't know anything. Um, with that being said, it was great. I'm having a lot of fun watching these shit episodes of Raw
Oh,
and
me
talking
too.
about them.
Me too. This is a fucking blast. Can't wait to watch the next one.
And we will see you guys in a month. So goodbye. Saying goodbye. It's Frankie.
And this is Levi signing off.
Bye.